And another tip is do not chug coffee if this is your first time doing this. My sponsor told me, he's like, hey man, if you're going to speak, you can let them know that you're nervous. But it's the first opportunity you have to say something honest. So honestly, if I puke up here, yeah. So I wanted to just start. For some reason, I just been thinking about like my first time like drinking. I was sitting up here and I was sitting back there. I was listening. I just needed something to like in my head because my head was doing this stuff, and I was like, they're like prayed in. I was like, I've been praying all day. And I thought about my first drink. I was at my buddy's house, and he handed me this bottle of dry gin, and we would just chug it, right? And he had this, the hairless cats, like the Mr. Bigglesworths, right? He had one of those things, and I took the drink, drank a bunch of it, and I went upstairs and I was giving this cat like a deep tissue massage. It was nuts, and I blacked out. The first time I drink, I black out. So you think, right? It's like, okay, well, take a hint, man. Like, this might not be the thing for you. You're not great at this. But the next day, I woke up and I'm in school and I'm walking down this like hallway back to these like trailers. The good kids went to the trailers, and I'm walking back there and I'm like, I got to puke. I felt crazy, and I couldn't wait to do it again. And it wasn't like alarming to me at all. It was just like, no, I know this made me sick. I can't wait to do this again. And I didn't become an everyday drinker right away. It was a long time later. It started to progressively get worse. I didn't really know what was going on, but I knew I drank different. I knew when everybody else was just having fun and I was just like hiding booze and like at the party, which is nuts. I just knew something was different. So I get a little bit older, start drinking more and more, and I meet this woman, and at this point I'm drinking pretty insane. I'm at work and I'm shaking, and at this point, like I jokingly would talk about like, it's like, yeah, I know I'm an alcoholic. And I would joke about it. Like, yeah, just give me another drink. What's the point? And finally, I think it was her or her grandmother was just like, hey man, like I think you need help. I think you need to like go and seek out some help. I was like, all right, yeah, maybe that's a good idea. And I went to a rehab, and I thought I acquired some knowledge, and like I saw the 12 steps, and I really didn't get into it. And I drank again. This time when I went back out, it got worse. It got worse and it got worse. And then I would go to another rehab and it would get worse and worse. And I became an everyday drinker. And I drinking a lot, blacking out like super regularly. And around this time I lost control. I completely lost control, and I just didn't know what I was doing anymore. And I cheated on my lady, the mother of my children, and they left. They wanted nothing to do with me anymore. They're just like, dude, we got to get out of here. Like, you're the Walking Dead, and we got to get away from you. And as insane as it sounds, it's like there was a bit of freedom there. I was like, oh, I could drink the way I want to now, and I did. And I carried on like this for a long time, and I would drink for a while, get into another rehab, drink for a while, get into another rehab, and somewhere along the line, I went to this like one rehab like, so many times that like I started to know the people, and I saw the way that like their lives were like they were materializing, like they were staying sober, they were meeting good people, they kept smiling, they looked healthier, everything about their lives was getting better, and I started. And I would keep going back to that rehab because it was convenient. It was like right down the street, and I would show up at these meetings, right? And I remember as a meeting in Westchester, I saw this group of guys, and they were standing by the coffee machine, and I'll never forget them. And I think the one dude was wearing like a Nintendo shirt and like weird sci-fi movie shirts. I was like, dude, these are nerds. Like, this is crazy. I don't want what they have. But what I didn't realize is like, I was insanely jealous of like, what they were doing. Like, they were standing by this coffee machine and they were let. They were free. Like the way I was sitting there and I was being judgmental and I was being hard on these guys in my head, and I was like, I want what they had. I didn't realize it then. I more realize it now. So I desperately wanted what these guys had. And, so I'm going to rehab after rehab, and I'm seeing everybody's like lives like materialize and get better and better. And I was like, I really want that. Like, I want what these people have. I'd be in the rehab, like, looking at these like texts, these RSSs, whatever they call them, at all the different rehabs. I'm like, their lives are getting good, And it was the last time that I went into Devon RCA. I feel like I'm getting a grasp on like what was happening, but I'm early in this journey, so like all these things are becoming clear to me now. But I went into this rehab, and I didn't have like this overwhelming amount of willingness. In fact, when I got there, I threw my bag in the front door, and I was like, I'll be back. I jumped in an Uber and went home for another night of drinking. And when I got back, I put in my 72 hours. Like, I wasn't ready to do this thing when I got there. And I bumped into some of the guys that I knew there, and they were like, hey man, just pray about it. Pray about it. I was like, what's that going to do for me? Like, how's that going to help me? Like, I have a drinking problem, not like a I was like, I don't know what you want me to do. And I pray about it. I was like, all right, fine. So I started hitting my knees. I didn't know why. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to pray. I was totally lost in this thing. And I kept praying, and one day, a mutual friend of mine showed up. His name's Brandon Novak, and he was like the speaker at this at the rehab. And we knew each other through like skateboarding. And he stopped me and he was like, "Hey man, why don't you come out to like my treatment center in Wilmington?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that." It was either like Pompano Beach, Florida, or like Wilmington. It's no brainer, right? I was going for the scenery. So I get to Wilmington and I was like, "Yo, this place is wild." So I'm staying in one of the sober livings. And I start going to these meetings out here in Wilmington. And I noticed that these guys were talking about God a lot. And I was like, oh, man, this is super wild. And I remember being in a meeting, I think it was the Unity Church, and I was like, oh, you guys are talking about God. Like that's what we're doing? I was like, oh, all right, word. So I went to a meeting. It was called More Than Just Alcoholism in Ellesmere, Delaware, and I seen this dude speaking, and just something compelled me, something spoke to me, something my gut told me. Was like, ask that dude to be your sponsor. This was like the second or third meeting I was at in Wilmington, and so I asked this guy to be my sponsor. This Kenny. So I asked this guy to be my sponsor, and he just seemed so sure of the spirituality thing. And I was like, all this time that I was in like AA and the rehab, I swear, and I said this to him, I was like, I never heard them talking about God. I couldn't hear it. I don't know if I wouldn't or I couldn't, but I don't know what it was with me or whatever. But until I got there, until I was in that position, I really wasn't hearing it. And I was working with Kenny, and I was like, well, he's 10 years younger than me. He doesn't have kids. He's into other stuff. I'm a drinker. Like, I was like, maybe this isn't the right fit. And, and I talked to him about this. I was like, I'm in Wilmington. Like, I don't feel like I fit here. He's like, yo, you're comparing yourself out, man. You're right where you need to be. And like, it hit. And I was like, okay. All right, word. So I'll try this thing. So I'm doing I'm still hitting my knees every day, and I'm praying, and I don't know what to. I don't know how this is making any sense. But I keep doing it. You know what I mean? Someone was just like, continue to seek. And I was like, all right, cool. I can do that. I'll try my best. And this is the first time I've ever done this. You know what I mean? Like, I would tell sponsors, I'd be like, yeah, I prayed about it. I never prayed. I mean, maybe I did like one time, but I would like tuck towels underneath the door and like hide. So I was like, what am I doing? I was nuts. And so I started doing this thing, right? And I started working these steps. And the way I went through these steps, like, I went through them like honestly. It's honestly something I never did. You know what I mean? Like, I would sit down with like somebody and I'd get to a 4-step and I would like, I'd tell them some of the stuff. But for some reason, when I sat with my sponsor this time, I was like, everything. I'm telling them everything. All the stuff that I was taking in my grave, I was like, I want to get rid of it all. And he had this way that he put it to me that I'll never forget. He's like, what you say to me when we do your fifth step is sacred. It's between you and I. And this was part of like that seeking. I was getting closer to something, and like something told me, it's like, yeah, that's between you guys. That's between me, my sponsor, and God. And I was like, I'm going for it. And I did it. And I felt like some of that freedom, right? And I was so relieved by that. And I remember after getting done the fifth step, I was like, he's like, yo, did you feel it? Like, how did you feel? I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't think I felt anything. I thought it was going to be like, I was hoping for like a lightning strike, or like a bush to catch fire, like something. But I did. I felt relief, right? And I continued to do this thing. And what was amazing was my life started getting better. Like everybody said it was. They were like, life beyond your wildest dreams. I was like, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. And it did. It started to happen. As I was moving through the steps, the guy that came to the rehab to speak, he showed up and he was like, yo man, he's like, you put together a year. He's like, I'd like to hire you. Dude, this was my dream to work in treatment, because I've been in so many treatment centers. I've seen the way these guys would live their lives and materialize. And I was like, I want to help people. I've always wanted to do that. Like, I always wanted to make a difference in someone's life. And then that happened, right? And just before that happened, my lady, my then ex, she's always been supportive. You know what I mean? Even despite all the things I did to her, she's like, dude, you're changing. Something has changed with you. And she's like, yeah, you want to try this again? Like, do you want to give this a shot? Because we had this beautiful family. We had 2 kids. And I was like, for sure, yeah, absolutely. Like, that's a life beyond my wildest dreams, for sure. So we start doing it, we get back together, right? And I stayed at the sober living for a while, just to make sure that I wasn't like going to lose my mind again and do some of the stuff I would do. And yeah, I got this job like working with people, and I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? Like, not only was I working with people like as like a job, but I also became like a sponsor. I had like sponsees, which was unbelievable to me. You know what I mean? It was unbelievable that I could be like in a position that I could take all the things that like my sponsor was telling me, like sit down with another guy and be like, hey man, like, when you get to your 5th step, this is sacred. This is between me, you, and God. And I was like, oh man, I was floored by the opportunity. In fact, so much so, I tell my sponsees all the time, I'm like, hey man, like we're alcoholics, we're drug addicts and alcoholics. Like, we got to feel something. We got to have an experience. And I was telling my one sponsee, I was like, we got to feel something. We're got to cultivate something that we can feel. And he calls me one day and he's like, yo, I'm having this problem. I'm having this problem with this dude. He's talking all this crazy stuff. We were having a football conversation and it took a left turn and like he's throwing my sobriety in my face. I'm like, we're gonna pray for that dude. We're gonna pray for that dude. That obviously whatever's going on with him, like he's sick, man. Like, let's pray for him. He's like, well, wow. I was like, I'm not exactly sure. But he's sick. You know, he's like, we're gonna pray for him, right? And like, I didn't know what we were. I was like, I'm not real sure, dude. We're having an experience together. So he's like, all right, I don't know if I can, but I'll try. So he prays for dude. He hits me up later that night, sends me a text message. He's laying down in bed with his son. And he's like, for some reason, I grabbed this like prayer book that he had. He starts like thumbing through the pages, and his son like sticks his finger in the page and goes, this page. And of course, it's like, of course. It's the page that says, like, yo, we pray for our enemies. And he sends me this screenshot, and me and this dude are having an experience. We're floored. Him and I are both just like, dude, you know, there's no denying. Burning bush, be damned. I was like, dude, this is crazy. This is crazy, because I needed that experience as much as he did. And I was like, wow, this is insane. You know, like these things that like have showed up like that. I was, when I was in sober living, I was selling my house. And I was selling my house, and my dad was like, yo man, you gotta get all this paperwork signed, you gotta do all this stuff to make sure like everything's in line. And he's like, did you do that? And I'm like, nah, man. That's God's will stuff. He's like, yo, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, yo, me neither, dude. I don't know either, but like, this is the path I'm on, and everything worked out fine. But through this process, through working these steps, through a daily seeking of my understanding of God, which I'm floored by the power, right? And getting to understand it. I keep putting these new things into practice. I got a Bible. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. This is new. This is fun. And I didn't know where to start. I hit up my sponsor. I was like, where do you start? I was ready for him to be like, the beginning. Right? And he was like, nah, start in Matthew. And I start reading the Bible, and I'm getting, early in sobriety, I'm 19 months sober. And I continue to do this seeking thing where I sit down next to somebody and we're talking about whatever, and this guy, these people in my life will start talking about spiritual concepts, and I'm just like, oh my God, I needed to hear that. And this is the way this thing works for me, like through people, through this amazing process. Dude, I'm so happy I didn't throw up while I was up here. That went really well, dude. I think my time's up. Thanks for letting me share.
Right on.